create. I go, well, at the foundation of this creation is a fundamental, foundational shift from focusing on time, busy, and hard to focusing on results-driven behavior. You get that first millimeter done, and there is a visceral sense of accomplishment. You can feel it. You actually executed and accomplished that baby step, that millimeter. The next day, another one, another sense of accomplishment, another sense of accomplishment. And when the goal is accomplished, sense of confidence. That's a real key piece in dream creation.
Hello, everyone. This is Dr. David Moore, and I'm here with Dave Blanchard. And I cannot tell you how excited I am to have this conversation. From the conversation about in Money Revealed that Patrick had to the conversation we had not too long ago with one of the programs for the mastermind programs. I absolutely respect your wisdom and knowledge around the mindset of wealth creation. So, just so you know what I'm talking about is many of us are looking for those procedures. What is the next big thing to make money, right? But I know for a fact, if you don't have the right philosophy and purpose behind those procedures, you're not going to get anywhere. And I can't think of anyone else to have that conversation with than you, Dave. So thank you so much for spending the time with our community and just bringing your wealth of knowledge and wisdom to this community today.
It's my honor to be here. When you called and said, could we do this? I went, oh, it'd be great to talk to you again. So here we are.
I couldn't wait. I really couldn't wait. It's one of the most memorable conversations I've ever had. And I'm so excited to invite our community into this conversation because I already know that they're going to be blessed by what you're about to say. So, I kind of want to just let people know, if they hadn't seen that video, a little bit about who you are and your story that brings you to this point in time to give us this information.
Mm-hmm. I could just say briefly that everyone I know who has created wealth has also lost it once. They've had the dark night, and so they have an empathetic reference point as they're building. And those who've done that once, the second build is just so different because it's not about the stuff. It's really about creating financial independence so that you can really engage in life and continue to brace obstacles. One of the challenges with people that want to build wealth is there's a destination kind of a mindset that I'm going to struggle now so I don't have to struggle anymore. It's kind of like, I want to learn how to brush my teeth so well that I never have to brush them again. I mean, it really is like that, because when you choose to be an entrepreneurial soul, an intentional creator of your life, you'd never want the obstacles to go away. You recognize them as your teacher. And when you're ready, the teacher appears and it's generally an obstacle. And you get to take that on, learn from it, gain more empathetic reference points you can use to serve other people on their journey. And you just continue to grow. Og said, I keep my eye on the goal above my head. I ignore the obstacle at my feet. That's my unhealthy habits of thinking. Where dry desert ends, green grass grows. And what he could say, and then there's another dry desert, and then another green grass, and another dry desert, and another green grass. We fall in love with the journey. And the person who's building wealth, who discovers that secret, can absolutely have joy in the moment and every moment during the build.
So our listeners, and if you haven't heard of Og Mandino or you haven't heard of the Greatest Salesman in the world, that's your program now, and you've written some incredible books, which I have right here, including The Observer's Chair, right, and Equanimity, right, which is Conquering Mount Entrepreneur, which I love. Yep. And today we begin a new life. And at the end of this, I want everyone to be able to have access to you. But that's where we are. But okay, let's go to where you were. I would like to know what brought you to, that you weren't born this way. And Patrick says, you weren't born on third base and you hit a triple, right? It's what it took to get here, I think that everybody needs to hear. So I would love to hear your story at first, and then we'll take it from there.
Well, I'm not going to go all the way back, but I'm going to go back to 13 for a moment. Because at 13, I wanted a motorcycle. I think I shared this with Patrick. I wanted a motorcycle, and I had a paper route. I was a businessman, right? 13. And I figured that I needed to raise this amount of money, and there were very specific goals that needed to be accomplished for that dream to be funded. One of those goals was to find out where my customer wanted their newspaper delivered, driveway, porch, and make sure that every night that's where it was. 2, that I collected within 2 days of the end of the month. Sunday being a day off for me, but making sure I was there so they didn't ever get behind, and it was predictable. And if I put it on the right spot and I showed up to collect, I generally got a pretty significant tip. That helped build the pot a little quicker. And 3rd, I kept great records. Now, I had a partner, Glenn Crawford, next door, and he had the same goal. And we both were newspaper carriers for the same newspaper. At the end of the year, he was the number 1 newspaper carrier. I was the number 2 newspaper carrier in all of Huntsville, Alabama. And my consoling fact was that I got the bigger motorcycle. He was always number 1 in everything he did, because that's just who he was. But it was fun to compete with him to be able to get there. So I add that. Maybe 4th thing is having someone to be responsible to report to. That was just deeply ingrained in me. And about, David, it can't be more than 3 months ago, I had a really deep realization, and Disney absolutely supported it for us. The deep realization is this: we live in a nation that is conditioned based on time, hard, and busy. I go to work at 8, I leave at 5, so I'm paid for 8 hours of work. If I work overtime, I get paid time and a half. That's how most people work. They trade their time for dollars. They work hard and they get a raise. They're busy and they get a bonus. And so that's how they think. Now they say, I want to create wealth. So they start a business of some kind where they have opportunity, right? And they come here and they work hard and they put in the time and the busy, and it doesn't work. But I'm working hard. Entrepreneurship is not about hard. This is just, I believe this is an eye-opening fact. You know this from your own business experience, David. The only thing that matters in an entrepreneurial adventure is the result. Nobody gets paid for busy. Nobody gets paid for hard. Nobody gets paid for time. You only get paid for results. So the entrepreneur, for those watching this who say, I want to create, I go, well, at the foundation of this creation is a fundamental, foundational shift from focusing on time, busy, and hard to focusing on results-driven behavior. That's it. Now, previous conversations with Patrick and others, we talked about the fact that this result-driven behavior can still be boring, mundane, burdensome, repetitive, and hard if we're not using our gift of vivid visualization, which parenthetically usually gets used to fantasize what it's going to be like when everything's done, or we're catastrophizing every time something doesn't work out the way we want it to. That gift is designed to get an inspired idea to take what is this result-driven activity and having a creative idea, an intuitive impression about how to do that at the very best way possible. And if you're wired to a functional MRI, we see a gamma spike when somebody gets that. A gamma spike ignites up their passion. And the passion drives the results-driven behavior. A person may work hard. They may put in time and they may be busy, but they're working without counting the time.
Yep.
Or the energy. That's the fundamental shift. If we don't do this, we're going to have one foot in employee mentality and a toe sticking in entrepreneurship and be terribly frustrated, because the only thing that matters here is a result. And I have to tell you, Disney did us a gift, gave us a gift. Have you seen by any chance Luca?
Yes, I did.
Oh, good. Then we could have some fun. And for all of those who are watching this today, please, 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 before the day is out, go watch Luca. It is the most incredible metaphor for what I just shared with you. Luca's living in that little monster village, under the ocean, under the rock island that's just off the shore. He's got a predictable job. He goes out and takes care of like 25 fish, and then he goes to sleep, and he takes care of 25 fish, and he goes to sleep. And there's all kinds of rules and judgment, and it's all about security and safety. And well, that's how most of the world lives. Then one day he sees this little shiny thing in the ocean that doesn't belong there. And then another one. And then he sees a wrench and he wants to go check on the wrench. But what he does is build a little statue of himself, paints a face on it. So if his mom checks to see if he's doing his job, he'll look like he's there, right? Kind of a scarecrow thing. And he goes and follows and runs into Alberto, who is a little monster kid too. And Alberto's swimming along, and Alberto pops out of the water. And Luca does. But it scares him to death, jumps back in the water. There is one scene that is indelibly imprinted in my mind. The animators, what a gift to capture this. Here's the surface of the water. Here's Luca. And the next time he's going to break through, oh my goodness, I'm going to have to breathe air. The look on his face of the fear of breaking out of his comfort zone is priceless. He gets distracted by something else, jumps out, and turns into a cute little boy. But he can't walk. So he has to learn how to walk. Then he learns how to play. Then his creativity starts to come alive. And he and Alberto build a Vespa out of the junk that Alberto's collected. And they're trying to make that work. And then they make the decision they've got to go over to the big city. The next fear. This is how it is if you choose to be an entrepreneur. It's just learn how to walk, learn how to play, learn how to go to the big city. It just keeps going on and on and on. And in the end, he's going to school to learn even more. And he goes through these life experiences and gets to face his fears and take them on. And he starts to fall in love with being out of this small little world that he grew up in. We've got to break out of this. We can't stay here and create the dream. It doesn't work. We can swim as much as we want to. We can swim as long as we want to. We got to get out and learn how to walk and run and play and learn and struggle. So if you haven't seen it and you're watching this, please go watch Luca. Disney Plus, I think, is streaming it for free.
I'm gonna
just ask yourself, where am I? Am I still stuck in the little village? Am I at the water's edge? Am I just learning how to walk? Where am I? Because once I know where I am, it's not so scary.
And knowing your philosophy and knowing your message, they then go and change the world, or they change the perspective of everyone around them. The people who are afraid of the monsters that are afraid of the people. And at the end of the show, major change happens. So beyond themselves. So, and that is your message for sure.
Yeah. Isn't that a fun concept?
Yeah. I didn't think of it when I watched the movie, but I think I have to go back and watch it again.
I just keep going back and replaying that one facial expression of him. Because that's where most people are that want to create dreams.
And so we talk about
he didn't use willpower. He got distracted. He was focused on something else. We focus on someone else. It helps us get out of that fear.
So you mentioned dreams, and
Mhm.
it's a very big part of when you teach people how to create a dream, especially when it comes to being an entrepreneur or their next business or their next goal in life. So could you kind of expand a little more about how to create a dream? Um, what that really means, what that whole concept is for people.
Okay. A year ago, about the time I talked to Patrick, something hit me. I've been dream creating my whole life. It's just how I live. And Ramona's always nervous when I tell her the next one because she knows we'll create it. One's being delivered next week. It's very, very exciting. We've been working on this one, all these steps and making it happen. Realize that the average person, myself included at one point, nobody's above anybody. It's just that we've been going to seminars and reading books about having a big why that'll drive our actions. And the bigger our why is, the more discouraged we are with how far it is between here and there. I want a beach house. I want a cabin. I want a boat. I want a Ferrari. I want whatever it might be. It's just so far away. And someone says, well, what do I do? And so I'll show you, but it won't be really exciting at first. But between where you are and where you want to be are the steps I'm going to show you. And you can't get here without walking through them. Well, I want to make $2 million a year. Last time I checked, David, $5,000 is between 0 and 2 million. Right? So let's develop a tolerance for dream creation, a tolerance for it. And the tolerance requires us to, number one, have a worthy income generating vehicle, something we're doing. And you said it before, that is got a purpose. It's serving humanity. It brings value to people's lives. That's really a key before we start building, to have that vehicle. Now, with that vehicle, we set 3 simple goals that can be accomplished in 90 days to 6 months that will increase our income we're currently earning in that business by 10%. If you're making $1,000 a month in that business you're building, that would be an average then of $1,100 a month. We take that 10% and we put it in a separate bank account. And we decide what it's going to fund. If it's $100 a month for 3 months, that's $300. My dream has a budget of $300. Well, if you've got a family, engage them in the process. Here's the sacrifices I'm willing to make. What sacrifices are you willing to make? We can actually use businesses to train our children and prepare them for the world instead of spending mommy guilt, for an example, that I'm not spending enough time with them. When I'm with my business, I'm not there. And with I'm there, I should be on my business, all that kind of stuff. No, we engage them in that process so that the sacrifices are shared. And then we go to work doing the millimeters. That's what I like to call them, or baby steps. What are the baby steps between here and that goal? And David, here's the physiology. You're a doctor. You get that first millimeter done, and there is a visceral sense of accomplishment. You can feel it. You actually did something. You didn't fantasize about this. You didn't spend all day imagining what it's going to be like. You actually executed and accomplished that baby step, that millimeter. The next day, another one, another sense of accomplishment, another sense of accomplishment, another sense of accomplishment. And when the goal is accomplished, sense of confidence. That's a real key piece in dream creation. Developing a confidence that we can actually create it. A lot of people say to me, I don't know how to dream. That's because we don't want to focus on what it's really going to take to get there, the responsibility. Now you do the same thing again, accomplished. So sense of accomplishment, sense of confidence. And then the next piece, we start to develop evidence, not only for ourselves, but for all those around us that we share our dreams with. If you have a spouse, for an example, that's not very supportive of your dream, it's most likely we talk more about the dream than creating evidence that we can actually create the dream. So we create evidence. And every time that 10% is accomplished, we put it over in that dream fund and we fund another dream. Then we set 3 more goals, we fund another dream, 3 more goals and fund another dream. It's not a magic number. It's not based on research, but at about 6 times of faithfully doing that, a person is starting to develop tolerance for goal setting, execution, accomplishment, that sense of confidence, and funding of dreams. And if a business continues to grow, in time, the next logical purchase could be a beach house. It's the next, it doesn't happen like leaps.
Mm-hmm.
It's the next logical thing that you're increasing. You set the goal, you increase it, and that increase provides the revenue to buy that next thing. And dream creators have always got these dreams, and they're always setting goals and accomplishing them and creating evidence so people have confidence in their ability. They have confidence in their ability, and they actually start creating those dreams. I think it's a sequence like that. So if someone's watching this and they're going, I don't know how to do this, start there. Really simply. 3 simple goals, 10% increase, fund a dream. Don't pay off debt. Debt does not drive an entrepreneur. An entrepreneur needs a reward. You'll get to the debt. You'll get your business strong enough, you'll just pay off the debt. But don't focus on debt, because that's trying to get back to ground zero. I mean, it's just not fun. Now, there's some people that might not agree with that, but entrepreneurs need to have rewards. So have the rewards. You'll get to the point where the debt's paid, but you also get to the point that you're actually setting goals and accomplishing dreams. And then you turn that around and you set the dream. And then you determine the goals that are required to get there, and you have confidence you can execute and create them.
You know, you made a statement about this concept of dreams and goals, and the statement is to live in your life and work on your business, where the dreams. So could you explain that? Because with the concept of a dream, and then we're talking about the goals or what it takes to get to that dream.
Thank you.
Separate them. I think you made the comment about if you're living in your business, it's like snorkeling in manure. So let's make sure that we separate that for everybody, because that was brilliant.
Well, that's what most people do. They get so caught up in this process, and I could explain it with these words, I believe. When we're results focused and you actually get caught up in the results focused, passion driven life, we start focusing on measurement at the expense of enjoyable. Measurable, enjoyable. That's not sustainable. You said with purpose, people driven, changes lives. We start to see lives change instead of just focusing on getting to the numbers. And we can get enjoyment and measurable a little bit more in balance so they can be sustainable. And that will allow us to be able to separate our business from our life. We have a worthy income generating vehicle. Here we set goals and accomplish them. In our life, we identify dreams and we fund them. Those are 2 different places. And as you said, this goes inside of this, and it's just a mess. Now, someone says, oh, I don't have a balance in life. I don't believe in the discussion around balance. I just believe, as Og Mandino said in scroll number 4, I'll focus all my efforts on the challenge of the moment, and my actions will help me forget all else. So just be present where you are. If you're with family, be totally present. If you're in business, be totally present. And those could be separated by 2 minutes. But it's always about being totally present and very intentional.
Love that. You tell a story that I think most people could identify with, and maybe they're in this place, but you tell a story about a Rolex, about driving to a business meeting and forgetting your Rolex. Could you just kind of explain that? Because I think it's important for people to identify to that mindset, and maybe that's where they live right now.
That was the first build. I had lots of self-esteem issues. I share in the book I was in the care and keeping of a pedophile aged 3 through 7, and man, did that ripple through my life. And all of a sudden I was trying to fill the hole in my soul with stuff. And I had the beautiful home and the ski condo and the 40-foot Bluebird motorhome and the Ferrari and the Mercedes, and you go down the whole list. And I did have a Rolex watch, and I wore it like this. Hi, David, how you doing? It's like, if you didn't see it, it's coming back again. I mean, it was like my identity was with my stuff. And one day I was driving down off of Mount Helix in California, where we lived, and came to a signal light and realized I had forgotten it. And the choice: keep going and be on time for the meeting, or go back home and get the watch. And I went back and got the watch. Story I don't think I've told is I remember walking out of the front door, 2 big mahogany doors in this house, out to a porte-cochere. And somebody was picking me up to go somewhere, and they pulled up in a Ford automobile. I had a Ferrari. I had a Mercedes. I mean, if I climb in this car, how are people going to know I have those things? It's so silly. I wrote in today, I begin a new life. Even God got tired. And I attribute it to him. He was gracious enough to take it all away so I could find me. It was painful. The real estate market collapsed. Millions of dollars went through our fingers. I owed $1 million because I was the guarantor of all of the loans. And we would spend the next 10 years paying that back. Don't ever want to do that again. Lightning bolt, maybe. But it was one of the greatest experiences of our life, what we learned through those 10 years.
What really impresses me the most, and maybe you talk about it through stories of the clients that you work with, but what motivates people? You talk about having a worthy wealth building vehicle, but to be driven not by the stuff, but by how you can bless others. And so there's you gave some stories to that effect, but I love those stories, how it's, the guy that sells, $100 million company, and he keeps enough just to pay his salary, and then he goes to change the world. So I think coming from the Rolex story and now shifting towards, really the wisdom around wealth building, the secret sauce, if you will. Could you explain that to our audience? I think that is probably the one takeaway that could probably change people's lives the most, because there are people who are, and it's not that they can't make the money with the wrong intentions. We know people, they're just unfulfilled. They're feeling, they're trying to fill I call it a God-sized void, or maybe it's a service-sized void, or a humanity-sized void in their life, but that will never be filled by the stuff. So you talk about shifting or having that shift, and those that are truly wealthy are those who have, I guess, a different purpose and drive other than the stuff. So could you explain that for everybody?
Oh, this is so important. Thank you for bringing this up. We sold our home in Bountiful and our cabin at a place called Bear Lake, and bought this property last September. We wanted a place where our 27 grandkids and our 7 children with their spouses could come and spend more time with us. We had the cabin for that purpose. It had 8 bedrooms and 8 bathrooms. I mean, it was really a cool place, but they rarely could come. They load up all the kids in the car, and they got to, almost have a trailer full of stuff to be able to stay there for 4 days. I mean, it's incredible. And we said, let's just do this one. So we put both properties into one. We overlook a beautiful lake, and the back or the front is the Snow Basin Ski Resort. The back is the lake. There hasn't been a weekend, when we don't have like clients visiting or something, that we haven't had children here and grandkids here. This is a worthy dream. It was something we couldn't stop thinking about and taking action on. It was something that encouraged us, added to our courage to stretch and grow and become. It's something that fostered abundance. We wanted to share it and inspire other people to create whatever theirs is. And four, we embrace the structure to actually make it happen. It's a worthy dream. Now, I don't talk about what I'm going to talk about right now, but I just felt impressed to. I've got a wonderful 911 Carrera 4S downstairs, a Venturite green. It's blacked out wheels. It's really cool. But you know, my favorite times in that car is when one of my grandkids turns 16 and we go for a ride. They drive. And we've had some really interesting moments as the car can really corner well. And, you know, a little bit over the speed limit and we take the corner. But the conversations that can occur after a drive like that are priceless. That fosters an abundance that's hard to create as a grandpa, just with a serious conversation with a 16-year-old. So this afternoon, we have friends flying in from Dallas. 5 o'clock, we'll be out on the lake. We've got a really fun Malibu wake setter, MXZ, 24-foot. It's a great boat. And I'll be surfing. And I'm going to show him how to surf. Before the night's out, my client will be in the back of the boat surfing. And that'll be the coolest moment ever. My wife will be kneeboarding. His wife will see what she's willing to do. She's pretty adventurous. She may be surfing. They'll all be on a tube going over waves. And tomorrow, we're going to get a couple of Can-Ams and go up into the mountains and spend a whole day and cook a meal up in the trees. It's just gorgeous. And it'll be probably a 75-mile ride. The stuff isn't about the stuff. It's boring. You get it, and it's so exciting when it's coming, and you get it delivered and for a few days, and then it's just one more thing to take care of, unless it has a purpose. And every toy we own, has a purpose. And there's not a weekend that goes by that we're not using those things for that reason. That's where the joy comes. So it's not about collecting things. It's not about a destination. It's not about traveling the beaches of the world. The people I know that I've had the privilege of working with who are dream creators, or we're teaching them how to be dream creators, as they're creating, some of them have tried that beach thing for a couple. It gets boring after a while. It's like, okay, now what? Because they've got this flame burning inside of them. What's the next thing you want to create? A school? An entrepreneurial school for high school kids? Let's do it. Or one of them sitting in a Christmas play with her kids and realizing that this community theater invites every child in the neighborhood to come. She turns to her husband during intermission. What have we got left in our giving fund? And he says, I agree. That was his answer. It was $10,000. They called the director the next day. I got to share this with them, not because they were boasting. They were crying. They called this lady and said, we were sitting in the play last night, had this impression. We're sending you a check for $10,000. And the lady burst into tears, almost uncontrollably. And all she could say was, you have no idea. We want to engage in life, embrace obstacles, connect and serve, create value everywhere we go and with everyone we meet, and we want to contribute to the world. One of my wealthiest friends, 50 single moms every Christmas. Everything they need for their kids, their cars, their washers, their dryers. Wow. And he finds tremendous joy. If he were walking down the street, you would not know he's worth $500 million. You wouldn't know it. Because it's not about his stuff. He lives in a monstrous house. He has a great life. I think he owns part of an island in Hawaii. I mean, it's incredible. But you would never know because it's not about the stuff. If it doesn't have a purpose, he doesn't own it.
Mm.
I love to follow his model. I've known him for years. If it doesn't have a purpose, don't make it an objective because it won't bring any joy.
Right.
Just be one more thing you have to insure and take care of and get upset every time it gets a nick or a scratch on it.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks for asking that question.
I just think
that's the difference between build one and build two.
Right. That, you know what? And there's so many people that no matter, they're never happy. And it's amazing. I know people just like that, close to me, as a matter of fact, who have more money than anyone that I know, yet they have, it is about the shiny things, and it's less about the shiny things, and it's more about filling this empty void. And I wish, maybe I'll have to share this video or your content with him because he's someone I care quite a bit about. But so and everybody out there who gets to hear this conversation. So I'm just going to put us on a different mode here as we kind of wrap up, but I want people to be able to connect with you, be able to connect with your program. So I'm sure you'll give us a link for that as well. But what's the best way for people to connect with you going forward?
The very best way is to go to habitfinder.com and take the assessment.
Okay.
This is based on axiological mathematics, which was developed at the Hartman Institute. Incredible. I'm the opening keynote speaker of the Hartman Convention this year. And the message is Hartman, Galileo for the 21st century. Because he is. What he discovered mathematically is a huge breakthrough that we want to get to the world. And we took that math and spent $2 million developing this assessment around it. And it's designed to measure our habits of thinking, which is the headwater. Our habits of thinking drive our emotions. Memorized emotions are called personality. And our actions and our behavior and our results. If we don't like what's happening, go to the headwaters and find out what's happening. And someone can go to habitfinder.com, take a free assessment, and click and spend 20 minutes with one of our Habit Finder specialists for free, exploring their assessment. We want the world to get in touch with this piece because so many people want to change circumstances. We want to change the person, because you change the person, the circumstances change. So that's the easiest way. The books are on Amazon, easy to get them. I 2 years ago narrated them. So all three of them now are available on audio, and that's getting very popular. People like to listen while they're working out or whatever. And so they're all available now on Audible. So that's another way of getting to know us.
Which once we hang up, I'm going to actually get that because I'm kind of a good Audible person. Observer's Chair is, this is all about that self-esteem issue and getting to the root of things. Today begins a new life. And so that's kind of what I would say. I would read that one second, if from my perspective.
It's not an easy read. It's if you actually applied it. I mean, it's a coaching program and a book. Yeah, if you apply the principles, it could be life-changing.
And then to apply that to business as equanimity, conquering Mount Entrepreneur. Yeah. So we'll have the links below, everybody, and I highly recommend you taking that assessment. I've done it. I've got to speak with Dave himself, and definitely something that, it's like people try to think about, it's all about the goals. It's all about the goals. But if you don't lay the right foundation in your mind and in your self-esteem, you know what, maybe making that first big fall or that first big mistake or that rise and that dramatic fall is what some people need. And if you've been through that already, then you're in a good place, right? That your motivations before did not work, but it's not about the things, it's about the fulfillment. And the wisdom that you share is really about gaining that fulfillment in life, being able to be blessed abundantly, but also to bless those around us at the same time. And so I appreciate you so much. I hope to have you back on again. And this is always great conversations for everybody. And I'm so happy everybody got to meet you today. And if you haven't watched the video before, if you didn't have access, absolutely go to the link below and go fill out that questionnaire, which is very interesting in itself. Just filling out the questionnaire, you're going to learn things about yourself, and then sit down with somebody for that free evaluation and get connected with Dave Blanchard. I highly recommend it.
Thank you. Pleasure to be with you, David.
Okay. Have a great day, everyone. And look forward to seeing you on our next call.